My game Trace Hunters was in its first post-launch Steam Festival last week, so I wanted to take some time to go over the financials, just like I did for the launch data. One question that I want to look at as part of this is, like, should you do a Steam Festival after your game launches, and how much difference might they make? Before we dive into the numbers on Trace Hunters specifically, I will say that I talked to several other devs that were in the fest, and it was kind of a bust for everyone, it seemed like. More or less, everyone saw a similar trend of reasonably okay numbers. So going back into the sales data for Trace Hunters here, this is the most recent. You can see I'm currently at $476 gross for 86 Steam units. So if we compare that to last time where I had $369 in revenue for 64 units, that means I sold roughly 22 units during the last period, where those units, at least during the sale, were discounted 20% instead of the 10% during my launch sale or sales in the off discount period. So you notice here I also gained some wishlist during this time, roughly 80 of them. We'll look at that in a little bit more detail later. I just wanted to do an overview before we jump in to talk about it. So let's go down to the 3-month sales data. So I chose to show the 3 months here because I also wanted to include my launch sale for reference. So that's this spike here. So you can see my day one sales were at 14 units, and they kind of trickled throughout the next month with a couple unit sales per day until hitting this dry period for most of August. During this first week is where my sale was on. That's when the game was discounted. Then we can look over at the festival sales. So that fest started on the 16th and lasted for 1 week. That week was here, so you can see that's roughly 1/3 the size of my launch, with the caveat that the sales during this period were discounted 20% instead of 10% like before. Most games tend to sell when they're on discount and not sell very much when they're not on discount. From here, I want to take a look at the wishlist data to show you how that went throughout the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles Fest. This is a zoomed in view of the last 3 months, so it also includes the wishlist for my launch. Over here, where we have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that's roughly this 1 week period. As you can see, that really didn't do much over my baseline. If you look at the time after launch, there was this transient response here that leveled out here, and I've trickled along getting a handful of wish lists since then, so I would expect kind of a similar trend to happen. After the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles Fest, it wasn't actually that significant. I did make some sales, I did gain some wish lists. You could almost not tell that there's a fest going on during this period, and that was a consistent story that I heard from the other devs that I talked to that also participated in this fest. They couldn't tell much of a difference outside of their baseline either. They had a small bump, and that was about it. Very similar to what you're seeing on mine. That covers the financials for Trace Hunters in the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles Fest. Now let's get into that question that I asked at the beginning of the video: should you do a Steam Fest? The answer, in my opinion, is absolutely yes. They're free, they don't cost you anything. The only thing you have to do is opt in. But I will say this, results can vary. And before I go into this, it's important for me to call out that I'm talking about themed Steam festivals, not Next Fest. Next Fest is a totally different beast. These are the themed fests that occur throughout the year on Steam. Is that fest necessarily going to make or break your game? In my opinion, no. They can help. They can help amplify something you already have. From talking to other devs, it seems like the theme fest are pretty variable. I think a lot of it depends on the genre or the theme of the fest, as well as any other factors going on in the industry at the time, in addition to your current velocity for your game. The algorithm on Steam pushes things that are big already, so it's a situation where very likely the big get bigger, but that doesn't mean you're screwed. They can still help you. You saw they still gave me a little bit of a boost despite having a pretty flat past month before the fest. So that's my thoughts on Steam Fests. I do want to do another video where I talk about a sale during a non-festival period. That's one where there's not a theme fest going on, there's no other sales or events going on, and see if that makes a difference in terms of sales. My theory is yes, it could positively affect sales by having a discount on a non-festival period, because there are just fewer games on discount during that period. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to get more content like this, I do these videos 2 times per week on my channel. Give me a subscribe right down there, and I will see you next time.